Hi folks, it's Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. It is December 19th, 2020. We're in the middle of a pretty solid cold snap here. We had negative 3.5, almost negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit here last night. And finally getting a chance to test out the new greenhouse thermal mass system and some of the other upgrades that will help, at least were designed to help make the system more resilient to cold weather, and having some pretty good success and results with that. So I wanted to share some of those results with you. And ordinarily I would just grab the Sony Handycam here and shoot it live on the screen, but having trouble with the charger cable on that, and have to wait till I can get a new charger for the battery. So anyway, so we're going to jump over and take a look at this here, and we'll go through some of it. So here we are, we're looking at the greenhouse charts here. This is a program called SQL Dashboards. It's a free download, works on Linux, Windows, probably also has a Mac version. I don't know, I don't do much Mac, I don't do any Mac. But we're looking at the chart here for the last 24 hours, and I know there's a lot of lines in this chart. It's probably kind of confusing, but I just wanted to share a little bit. So up top here we're looking at BTUs in storage. The green line up top here is BTUs in storage, total BTUs in storage when you combine all the tanks. And then these lines down the bottom, the BTU store, the red line is the 2 barrels. BTU stored 2 dB is the tank that's on the left hand side of the greenhouse stove when you're facing the stove. And BTU 3 is the thermal mass on top of the stove. That's that big stock pot. So you can kind of see in the lower chart here, this line here is coil out. That's the sensor where the water comes back out of the 2 barrels and goes into that heating loop underneath the plants before it returns back to the secondary T-mass tank. And so you can kind of see the corresponding shifts here where the pumps come on and coil temperature comes up, or that sensor temperature comes way up. You can see heat being bled off of the thermal mass on top of the stove. That's hot 3 here. And as you see that bleed off, you can see the barrel temperatures coming up. So you can see that heat being transferred from one location to another in the greenhouse. What I'll do here real quick is take this down to a little simpler version. We'll drop all these thermal mass related things here so you can just get a clear idea of like actual greenhouse temps and such. Oh, and I guess I should mention, so I did mention I'm using SQL dashboards. These statements that I'm using down here, these are SQL query language, and so I can basically just select from the database and tell it what I want to look at, how many records I want to look at, and how to order it and all that sort of stuff. Very flexible, powerful tool as a way of managing data and a way of charting and analyzing data. So now we've gotten rid of all those extra sensors, and you can just see here, this is the average greenhouse temperature over the last 24 hours. This is the outside temperature. You'll see here it was down at, well, it's saying negative 0.4 here, but this sensor is just outside the greenhouse. If you look at my weather station temperature data, you'll see it actually went down to about negative 3.5 or almost negative 4 degrees last night. And you can see the stove temperature here. You can see the different stoke cycles here as I stoke it, and it burns through the fuel and starts to cool, and I restoke it and it comes back up. And you can see the thermal mass here rising as I'm bringing the pumps on and off and pumping some of that heat off to the secondary and tertiary tanks. Anyway, usually in cold weather in previous years, before I put the berms up around the greenhouse and added the coil system and the barrel system, you would see this excuse me, you would see this average greenhouse temperature come down. Usually on a really cold night like this, you'd see it come down into upper 40s. It'd be like 48 or 49 or 50 degrees at the bottom of the cycle. But this time around, you see the lowest temperature we have here is 65 degrees. That is a much better environment for all those tropical plants in there. So it's working out really well. And what I want to do here real quickly is take us back, and we'll take a look at the last 3 days. So we'll change the number of records. So the 1440 is based on I'm taking a data sample every minute of every day, so that's 1440 minutes in a day, so that's 1440 records in a day. So now we're going to go back and look at the last 4,320 records, which will give us 3 days. And we'll do the same up here. And we'll look at the last 3 days. And so you can see the number of times I've stoked the stove and the temperature fluctuations. And you can see like late afternoon on the 17th where I didn't get out and get the stove started up till later. We actually were down to 55 degrees there at that point. And you can see where it got cold out. That's where, as that snowstorm was coming in, you can see the temperature bleeding off of the thermal mass pretty hard there, trying to keep the greenhouse temperature up. Or not trying to, but you know, as it's bleeding heat, it's putting it into the greenhouse. So I just thought I would share this charting and this information a little bit in a little bit more detail. I know sometimes I take a quick clip of it and show it, but I know I hadn't sat down and kind of explained it to anybody or you guys in a long time, and I thought I would just share it with you. Anyway, very powerful, flexible tool to have, the database and the charting system. I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again now, this is all going to be switched over to browser-based charting eventually. I'm going to use something called Bootstrap, which is basically a PHP-based web page template. I'm going to integrate all these charts and all this data into that so that I can pipe it out to the internet and make it a little bit more lightweight and robust, and I won't need a special program to look at it. Anyway, I just thought I would share this information. I hope you found this interesting or informative, and I hope you like it. So thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out my show on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Pacific, Wednesdays 12 a.m. Eastern Time. It's called Comrades In Farms, and we talk about farming, gardening, nutrition, human health, and all sorts of related topics, especially as it relates to regenerative agriculture. That show is available on YouTube typically, although I have had some technical issues recently with that. And it's also streamed on TFR. TFR pretty much always goes through, so if the YouTube stream isn't working, don't be afraid to go over to TFR. That's tfrlive.com. And if you just go to listen live, you'll see it. And then, of course, later on, I released that same show as a podcast on my podcast called Comrades In Farms, coincidentally. And that lags about a month or a month and a half behind the live streams, but it's another way you can listen to it if you don't get time to listen to it on the fly. It's something you can take with you and listen to on your phone or when it's convenient. I hope you find it interesting and informative. I hope you will share that around. I've had some pretty cool guests on, and actually next week I have a very special guest coming on. Ian Stepler from a Canadian Beekeeper's blog will be on, and we'll be talking about honeybees and honeybee management. And for those who don't know, Ian is a commercial beekeeper in Canada. He's got about 12 to 1,500 honeybee hives, and he is just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Ian. He's going to be on December 23rd, which is sort of like a little bit of a Christmas present to me. And I hope it will be to you as well. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.